Welcome and thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis. For those of you who are thinking about retirement or maybe just a nice little adventure, perhaps Costa Rica could be a place that you could go visit. Joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program today is the owner of Northwest Golf Adventures. Our guest today on the Beyond 50 radio program is Mr. Chris Fay, and we're going to be talking about what it would be like to travel or perhaps even relocate to a wonderful place simply known as Costa Rica. I'd like to welcome to the program today our guest, Mr. Chris Fay. Chris, thank you for joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, Daniel.
Let's talk about your interest here in Costa Rica, because we brought this up on the program in different venues here, but it seems to be something that's very attractive to a lot of people, especially here in America.
Yeah, we had. I focus mainly on with my writing and my business on golf and travel, and Costa Rica had been coming up more and more often over the last 5 or 6 years. So my wife and I finally took a trip down there last year, and it was amazing. I mean, it was everything that we had read about, and then more from like an ecotourism point of view to just the development that's gone on down there. It's a very very friendly place to go, and it's the kind of place I could see myself relocating to on a permanent basis. And there's just it all has a lot to offer. So it's an excellent opportunity for people to go and move or visit or whatever they want to just stay for a short period of time or snowbird.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's talk about some of the things that attract people to Costa Rica that you've discovered in your experience.
I think there's the adventure angle where there's so much to do there, from the rainforests all the way down to the oceans. Just while we were there in a 2-week period, we went did volcano tours, whitewater rafting, river tours, and that was just in the first few days in just one of the small areas. Made our way down to some great canopy tours, horseback riding, and then kind of capped it off with a series of scuba dive outings that were that matched anything that we've done in like Cabo or Cancun or Hawaii. It was really amazing.
That sounds that way too. Now, how did you get started with the Northwest Golf Adventures, and how does it tie into Costa Rica here?
We got started about 10 years ago, just trying to find a way for golf courses and resorts and hotels to kind of work together and promote stay-and-play packages. And it kind of turned into me being a golf travel agent, basically, helping people book their golf trips, mostly here in the Pacific Northwest. Mm-hmm. It ties in with Costa Rica because I actually, while we were there, met a person who owns a company called Costa Rica Golf Adventures. And he does basically the same thing that I do, only in Costa Rica. There are 7 or 8 really good golf courses there, and he brings people in mostly from the States and from Europe that want to come in and arrange golf packages. And the golf courses there are really spread out, so you can spend, if you were trying to book everything on your own, I think it'd be pretty difficult to kind of figure out the best routes, best order to play everything. But Costa Rica Golf Adventures, Landy Blank does a great job of trying to find out what kind of courses you want to play, sets up all the hotel stays, helps you with restaurants, and really kind of maps out your trip for you, and all the things you can do outside too. So that's how we ended up tying together, and he and I are working together now, just trying to promote trips both ways for people.
Mm-hmm. Now, as an American, what kind of challenges would you face going to Costa Rica just as a tourist itself? I remember as we talked about this, is that once a Costa Rican, I guess, native, if you will, starts to sniff out that you're somebody from America, things kind of really seem to be a lot more expensive than if you just kind of stay under the wire and you kind of pretend that maybe you're somebody from the area.
Yeah, that was definitely the case when we were in some of the larger towns. But when you get out, kind of down on the southwest coastline, you're in smaller communities. It seemed the people were they didn't really seem to care where you were from. I mean, mm-hmm. the prices didn't increase much. If anything, everything was a lot cheaper, out away from the bigger cities. But I think we were worried that not speaking Spanish, that we would have difficulty getting around or getting any kind of information we might need. But the country is so it's been they've really grasped that there's a lot of tourists there's a lot of tourism business to be had, and they are really accommodating to non-Spanish speakers. So we had no trouble getting around. The roads are it's like driving on American roads for the most part. I mean, once you get off the highways, the roads are a little smaller. There's some windy mountain roads that you can take, but that's a little tougher. But for the most part, I mean, the people there, they're generally very friendly, very helpful, and eager to embrace, you being in their company and being in their culture and taking part of the business that they're running down there.
Now, should people think about Costa Rica as just a place to play, or is this a place that you can actually maybe create a living, a lifestyle, if you will?
I think you could definitely create a living there. I mean, while we were there, we met a lot of Americans, expatriates that had relocated there permanently, and then there were some of them who had had businesses here in the States and sold them, and they're retired there. They're living there. It's a little bit cheaper. There's some great socialized medicine that you can take advantage of, and they're really just kind of relaxing now. But we also met a lot of Americans who have created businesses. From a golf perspective, I met a person who had run a small golf shop in Georgia, and he moved to Costa Rica, and at the time there were only 2 country clubs there. Not a really big golf business. But he saw that more golf courses were going to be put in, so he ended up talking with manufacturers and is now really the biggest golf shop owner in Costa Rica. Has a lot of the equipment that he is a representative for. So he's made a really good living out of kind of a niche there. But then as we were traveling up and down the country, we kept running into Americans who were opening really great restaurants. I mean, high-end restaurants that really cater to the parts of the world that they're from. And a lot of Americans, probably the best hotel that we stayed at was a little place called El Castillo, and it was owned by a couple from L.A. Just kind of a nice little boutique bed and breakfast kind of place. And I think you find a lot of that throughout the country with Americans who have come in, and they're not trying to create huge corporations. They're trying to create niche businesses where they can make a living and really enjoy this new country that they're in. And it's a nice blend. There are a lot of them are really taking advantage of the cheaper land rates, and they're becoming a part of the community that they're opening their businesses in. So that's nice.
Chris, that was one of the things that I wanted to bring up, is because just recently we were doing a program on someone who was actually making a pilgrimage, if you will, of surfing along the coast of Mexico. And one of the things that he was talking about, as you bring up ecotourism, for instance, in Costa Rica, is that there was a lot of large development going on. And in some cases, there were parts of Mexico along the coastline that it just became a ghost town because it just wasn't as sustainable for these businesses throwing up these large resorts and hotels for people to actually come and keep these things maintained and active. And so you kind of think about something like Costa Rica, where it's almost like a paradise where now people are recognizing it and going in and saying, well, this is all about ecotourism and sustainability, but as you were talking about large corporations maybe not going in, but more smaller niche businesses, do you see a concern with overdevelopment of the land to where it just kind of throws things out of balance?
I think that for Costa Rica, you definitely see that on the northwest coastline. It's much closer to the San Juan airport. I mean, it's like an hour and a half drive, and it's always been kind of more of a tourist area. So there's a lot of like the Marriott has a huge resort there, and then farther north there are several much larger resorts. It's very popular beaches, lots of surfing there. And I think you get a much different feel in that area where it's definitely very touristy. You're going to notice that prices are really similar to what you pay for things, here in the States. But you go a little bit farther south, and that's where, the development kind of ends, and you can really watch it as it just kind of kind of fades out as you drive farther south, and you get to the south coastline of the country, and it's much smaller businesses, smaller communities, and even the people there, you ask them about development, do you want to have the area developed, and they really don't. I mean, they expect that it probably will happen, and that the things might change a little bit there, but they don't expect it to happen to the degree that you see on the north end of the coast there. Well, and then, like the Caribbean side of the country is really underdeveloped. I mean, there's just not a lot out there. So, if you're trying to get away from everything, that's more the spot to go too.
Now, Chris, what are some of the things that you really enjoy about Costa Rica that perhaps our listeners may not be familiar with?
Let's see. Probably, like I said, probably the best part of the trip was the scuba diving that we had. But really, it's just kind of being able to go there and blend in. There are so many people from all over the world there. I mean, we were meeting Australians and Germans and people from the UK and people from South America, and it's really easy to just kind of blend in. You can go and stay off the beaten path as much as you want, and kind of fly under the radar, and really find yourself ingrained in the culture and the community there. And I think that was the part we enjoyed the most.
Sounds like you could also develop a new sport known as scuba golfing.
I could definitely spend my whole life just alternating between those two things.
Yeah, but just imagine actually creating a scuba golf.
That would be a lot of fun, actually.
Now, let's talk about Northwest Adventures and what it is that you do for people who really enjoy the game of golf.
For the people who are looking to come in mainly to Oregon, Washington, Idaho, BC, there are a lot of golf options. I mean, in Central Oregon, you're looking at 35 to 40 golf courses, just within an hour drive from like Bend, Oregon. So we have people who they want to come to the area. They've read about it in magazines or online, but they're not really sure, which courses are actually worth playing. Where should we stay? Those people can call us, and we put together their trip for them. Kind of build out customized golf packages that make it easy for them to come into the area. So when they show up at the golf course, we've made the tee times. They're already paid for as part of their package, and give them lots of. They're all places that I focus on, places that I like to go. So we've got recommendations for food, for activities outside the golf course, and we're not, since we're a local small kind of boutique travel agency. If people are they're here on their trips, if they have any trouble at all, it's easy for them to get a hold of me, and we can kind of troubleshoot for them if they get lost, or they maybe they don't like the place they're staying. Can we find someplace else? Just that kind of thing. Kind of a very hands-on golf travel agency.
Mm-hmm. So how was it that you got involved with Costa Rica? Is this something that you just were interested in, or did you say, hey, we think that we have something to bring down here for not only your locals, but, also for people as well? I write for several golf magazines, and I've been getting invites to go on media junkets to Costa Rica, I don't know, probably once a year for the last 3 or 4 years, and it just never really been able to make time to go down there. So we got involved really because it would be, it's not really a place, there are not many people that travel from Costa Rica, to the States to play golf. It's more of an inbound thing or an outbound thing for us, where we can say, we have all these clients here in the Northwest, and they're looking for some place to go in the, when it's rainy and cold here. Where else can we go? Well, you can go to Phoenix, you can go, any of the warmer areas of the U.S., or how about we go to Costa Rica? It's a 5-hour flight from Phoenix. You'll have a great time there. The golf courses are great, and it's just another option for our clients when they want to take a golf trip, kind of in our off season here in the Northwest. Now, how can people find out more about your service, and also, really start to do a lot more research about Costa Rica in case this is a place they would not like to just simply go visit, but perhaps they want to go live? You can visit nwgolfadventures.com. That's the website for Northwest Golf Adventures, and we've got a
got a lot of information about our travel packages, and also a series of articles on Costa Rica, different aspects from just going there to play golf, different businesses that are kind of on the up and up there, kind of up and coming for people who want to invest, and then crgolf.com is that's Costa Rica Golf Adventure site, but he goes really in depth in if you're an American, you're looking to come and move here. Here are the ways you can do it. Here's how we did it, and here's some ways to come and visit and kind of explore your options if you're interested in moving there.
Now, Chris, you just brought up something that I found kind of interesting, and that is investing. Are there opportunities for people to invest into the ecotourism down there, and what does that look like?
Yeah, there are a lot of opportunities. I mean, there's a lot of land there that we met people who had bought land, 10 years ago when they first moved there, and they're still kind of sitting on it. They're renting it out to local farmers right now, but they're planning on making a development or doing, have some kind of business with it. And there's so many little hotels that are going on that it would be easy for a group of Americans to go in and, they all go in on a hotel and, you have somebody local running it and they all have a part ownership. But there are there's so many more areas of the country that are becoming, that you can actually get to now. And there's a lot of room for the whole ecotourism where if you want to do kind of canopy tours or the more like adventure tours. So there are a lot of tour guides that you can find there, and there's a lot of room for more kind of adventure tour operators. So that would be another investment opportunity.
Now, Chris, have you been on any of these adventure tours that you're talking about, and if so, what are those like? There's a wide range of things you can go on. We went on some whitewater rafting tours. We did some of the canopy tours where you're kind of zip lining across, through the trees, and it's a really nice way for you to kind of get closer to the rainforest, and you can get better views of some of the wildlife there. We did a really interesting river cruise where just kind of rafting, not whitewater at all, but you got a really great chance to look at the at animals and birds that you're not going to find if you're in around the towns. We really have to get out away from everything to find these different species. But I mean, it's I expected like some of the adventure tours to be mostly younger people on them, trying to look for that adrenaline rush, but the tours are made so that no matter what your comfort level is with heights or with the animals, the speed, whatever, you can find something that will entertain you and really give you a good glimpse into an ecosystem that we just don't have here in the United States. Right. It's certainly one that's very diverse, that's for sure.
Oh, it's unbelievable the range of wildlife that we saw and plant life that we saw while we were there. It was really amazing.
Chris, what do you think the opportunities for people with families, for instance, to go down there and enjoy Costa Rica?
I think that we were trying to get a good grasp on what the school system is like there, and that was something that my wife and I were still looking into. We have two younger children, so that would be something important for us to know if we were moving down there. But I think that it is a family-friendly area more for vacation than to move there right now. I think that the school system here in the United States is a little bit better than what you'll find down there, and I think families who are older, I think would do better there right now.
Oh, okay. Chris, if you could, for our listeners, go ahead and give out your website again to find out more about all this.
Yeah, it's nwgolfadventures.com.
Very good. Well, Chris, thank you for joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program. It sounds exciting.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Daniel.
You bet. Again, it's Northwest Golf Adventures and our guest today, Mr. Chris Fay. We want to thank you for joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program. Be sure to visit us at our website. We'll go ahead and post a hot link for Northwest Golf Adventures as well on our blog. where we archive our shows as well. I'm Daniel Davis. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Beyond 50 radio program. Remember, live your day past halfway.